Crown Apple. Welcome to the DFS Sweatshop. I am your host, the DFS Jerusalem, and you can follow me on Twitter at DFS Jerusalem. About to do a quick recap over tonight's 9-game slate. It was an excellent day in the DFS Sweatshop. A lot of great things happened, a lot of fun games. Just gonna jump right into my best lineup of the night, and this is gonna throw you guys for a loop because actually the best lineup that I had all night came off of a FanDuel lineup. Was one single entry $25 buy-in that first place paid 100 times the buy-in. First place was 2,500, and I sat in first place. I had a late night hammer, and it was one guy that was a part of our core four, D'Angelo Russell. And right before leaving the game for the last time, I was in first place, was winning 2,500, and he turned the ball over, and I dropped to second. Now this was late in the third quarter. He didn't get back on the court until 2 minutes left because, of course, the Lakers were blowing the doors off of excuse me, off of the Golden State Warriors. Now, when it came to this game, man, I really felt like it had a chance to stay close. I really thought, but the other way, I thought the Lakers were going to be able to keep this game close. These are not your uncle's Lakers. This is a well-coached team. We know that Luke Walton was once recently a part of the Golden State coaching staff. He knows their strengths. He knows their weaknesses. He knows when to push the pace, when to slow it down. And that's why you can tell he had D'Angelo Russell off of the floor at key moments in the game because he was controlling the pace. This was like the first time I've seen the Lakers coached, like well coached, since Phil Jackson was there. So this was a really impressive showing for the Lakers. But let's go ahead and jump into this lineup here. Now, if you remember, we went over on Twitter in our core four. Now, I rarely give out my core four during the show because, one, I haven't really figured it out yet. I'm just really getting into the games. And number two, I want you to take that next step with me and follow me on Twitter so that I can send that one tweet out that's going to let you know what I think is going to be the safest 4 plays to start our lineups. Not to always roster these guys, but just places to start our lineups. And we can develop pivots off of them as we move on throughout the day and as value opens up. And you're going to see a really good example of that in this lineup. Of course, part of my core four definitely was D'Angelo Russell. He ended up having a pretty decent game, didn't quite make value the way I had expected him to at 5 or 6 times value, but he had a very good game. At 6,100, he scored, I believe, 28 fantasy points was there for him. Excuse me, 20 on DraftKings. He had 26.4 DraftKings points, so he really didn't return value. He was right hovering around 4x. The next play was Dame Lillard. He was definitely part of the core four all day long. He was at 9.6K over here on FanDuel, and this guy was like 10% owned in this GPP that I was in, which was remarkable because, you know, I really thought that everybody was going to be on Dame Lillard, but he ended up scoring 51.8 DraftKings points and exceeding that 5x value that I was looking for. The next guy is what really brought it all together. This was the play that I was kind of like biting my fingernails when I told you about it because it's just something that was telling me it was going to pan out, but it just sounded so absurd that this guy would go out and have the game that he was having. But I looked at the matchups, I saw what was happening, and I just had a gut feeling. You know, sometimes you just have that feeling. And it was Devin Booker at 5.6K. He went out and he had 41.3 FanDuel points, which far exceeded that 5 to 6x value, even made up for the D'Angelo Russell snafu. Now, the next guy that I had on my core four was Al-Farouq Aminu. But just before lock, I stumbled upon the news that Terrence Jones was going to be starting in place of Dante Cunningham. So I took a shot, I wanted to roster Anthony Davis, and I think I was at somebody lower than him. I couldn't remember who it was. I was lower than Anthony Davis, and I couldn't quite pay up to him. But when I took Aminu out, put Terrence Jones in at the 3.6K, I had just enough to get Anthony Davis. I think I may have spent every bit of salary with this lineup. So now I got into the core four. There were a couple plays that I knew everybody was going to be on that I wanted to have, and of course one of them was Anthony Davis. He had a slow start, but he did end up having a really good game. Didn't quite return the value in a way that we expected. He had 47.2 draft FanDuel points, but he was 75% owned in this GPP, and I knew he was going to be the highest owned player on the slate. So I stayed with the field. That's what I wanted to do with that play. The next one that we have is going to be Sean Kilpatrick. I knew he was going to be very highly owned, and he was coming in at what is that? 4.7K. He was 37.3% owned in this GPP and finished with 31.8 DraftKings points. Definitely exceeded that 6x value. And since this is quite a little different from DraftKings, I went with 3 chalk plays instead of the 2 chalk plays and then the two low-owned GP plays. And that play was TJ Warren. I knew a lot of folks were going to be on TJ Warren, so I definitely took a shot at him, and he had a pretty good game. His salary was 5.9K, and he ended up having 34.7 DraftKings points, and that was a really good showing for him and allowed me to stay with the rest of the field. Now, there were two plays that I knew were going to be low-owned GPP plays that a lot of folks weren't going to be on, and I wanted one of them to be at least somebody good, somebody that I really liked. So I thought about the games that I didn't like yesterday, and I know I'm not any smarter than anybody else. I mean, nobody really liked that Utah-San Antonio game. But I said I'm going to take the best player on the floor and see if he can go out and return value for me, and that is exactly what he did. At 8.4K, Kawhi Leonard had 51.2 FanDuel points. He was surprisingly, he was 24.1% owned. I thought he was going to be a little lower owned in this particular tournament, but it goes to show you when you have a $25 buy-in and you've got some of the biggest names in DFS in this tournament, they're going to be just as sharp as I am. But the one thing they didn't count on was the punt play at center, and that was Joakim Noah from my New York Knicks. I started him at 4.2K, and he ended up going out and scoring 38.8 DraftKings points, and this allowed me to get second place in the $25 buy-in GPP. I believe the total winning was $1,250. So that's like a 50. Was that 50 times? Is that 50 times? Maybe 50 times buy-in, whatever. But that was a really good showing for us here in the DFS sweatshop. Now I'm going to go over to my DraftKings live. I'm just not going to show you the victory. I'm going to show you, what a kind of mediocre night looked like too. And no, it's not mediocre. It wasn't mediocre. I made more than I put in. So whenever that happens, you can't really complain about that. So let's set the set it right here. This is smart TV. It's pretty dumb. Okay. Set this up here. Set it back. Okay, and let's take a look at what happened here. We are going to the live contest. Okay. And this will show you the best DraftKings lineup that I had on tonight. I had quite a few break 300, but the scoring was kind of weird tonight. It was kind of weird tonight. So Take another sip of the Crown Apple. My best DraftKings lineup, and this is something that I entered it in 3 tournaments. I kind of liked it. I had it in the dollar tournament, the and one 3 times. It finished 461st out of 41,000, and I also had it in the sharpshooter, and it finished 2,355 out of 147,000. That is a pretty good showing, I'd say. I had this was definitely a part of my core 4 lineup. You see the players that I have in here. I've got, of course, the Devin Booker we talked about. I've got D'Angelo Russell, like we talked about. I've got Al-Farouq Aminu, and I mixed and matched a little bit because paying down a little bit for John Wall allowed me to pay up just enough to get Hassan Whiteside in there, and he had a pretty good game. I think before that I had Brook Lopez in this spot, and then I had Dame. I had Dame up here, and he had a Dame game. It was pretty good. But John Wall had an excellent game. This ended up being my best lineup. I think I had $49 altogether into this slate and pulled out 78. That's a pretty good showing. All right, so let's jump into our 3 players that we want to talk about tonight. Number 1 is going to be the who dat scoring all them points over there player of the night, and it's going to be Terrence Jones. Definitely had a really great game. Came out of nowhere. The Dante Jones, or whatever his name is. That news broke fairly quickly. You had to act on it. Dante Cunningham, that's his name. He had to act on it, and he goes out. He has 7 rebounds, makes a 3-pointer, 6 assists, 4 blocks, 1 steal, 1 turnover, and 19 points for 46.75 DK points. An excellent game, and that's why he is our who dat over there scoring all them points out of nowhere player of the night. The next guy we're going to be talking about is going to be the Heat Check player of the night, and I had him nowhere. I completely faded him, and I kind of got called out on the YouTube page because a guy was like, "Man, you can't always just fade games based off the point totals. The point totals ain't always right," and he's correct. But we've got to go with a tried and true system, something that we've tried, that we it's scientific. This is a lot of science is involved in this. It's numbers, it's arithmetic, you know. And 9 times out of 10, the Vegas lines are going to be more correct than I am. That's why we go by the Vegas line. That's why the first thing we do is we check out the point totals and we target specific games. I had no Chris Paul. He is our Heat Check player of the night, and he went out and he had 27 points, 11 assists, 6 steals, 4 rebounds, 2 blocks, and 1 turnover. So he definitely filled up the stat sheets, and those 6 steals to that 1 turnover, that can make the difference in having an awesome fantasy night and having just a poor or a mediocre showing. So Chris Paul was definitely the Heat Check player tonight for that. Now we're going to move on to the snowflake of the night. Now, I was so lucky to not have rostered this dude, but so many of our followers on Twitter were reaching out, letting us know that they had this streak of fire on their lineup, and there was this one motherfucker who was cold as ice. I'm talking about Omarion, Icebox, goddamn snowflake, and it was DeMarre Carroll. DeMarre Carroll is tonight's snowflake of the night. He goes out, he has 1 rebound in 20 minutes. 1 rebound for DeMarre Carroll. That's why he is tonight's snowflake of the night. Let's get into a quick recap. We're going to roll through them because we have not only this 10-game slate from last night, but we've got an 8-game slate for Saturday. So we're going to roll through this as quickly as possible. I know you all want to get into the point totals and see exactly where we stand as we go into tomorrow's slate. We're going to start in Washington, with the Atlanta Hawks taking on the Washington Wizards. Like we already mentioned, pretty good game, really good game from John Wall. Bazemore, he was on the list to be one of the snowflakes of the night, but he saved himself by getting 3 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal, and 2 blocks. Paul Millsap let some of us down. Didn't have the really great scoring punch that we thought he was going to pack tonight in that up-pace game at Washington. He had 16.7 rebounds, 2 assists, and 3 steals. Dwight Howard was his usual self, his usual Atlanta self. He feels really good to be home. You can tell he's enjoying playing basketball again, and he did that for 29 minutes, had 20 points, 12 rebounds, 1 assist, and 3 steals. Kyle Korver in 20 minutes had 3 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists. And Dennis Schroeder had a pretty good game in 32 minutes, 20 points, 7 rebounds, and 3 assists. Now, Tim Hardaway had a pretty good game. We talked about him last time. If you had the stones to roster him, he definitely returned a little bit of value for you. He had 10 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, and 1 steal. On the other side of the ball, Otto Porter really let you down. I wanted to chase that last performance, but just something would not allow me to roster him as much as I did when he scored that 41 the last time out. So he only had 8 points and 2 assists in 37 minutes. That is a ton of minutes to not score a lot. So that's unacceptable. Martin Gortat had 12 points and 15 rebounds, 1 steal, and 1 block in 30 minutes. He was a really good play if you had him. Bradley Beal snapped out of his slump, and he had 28 points, 2 rebounds, and 3 assists. John Wall, of course, we talked about him, had a really great game. Be on the lookout. I think there's an injury going on there. Well, he's going to rest the next time out. They're coming up. They're starting the back-to-back. That was the first game of back-to-back, so we can definitely look to the Washington bench for the next game up. We're going to get to that when we get into the point totals. Next game we're going to be talking about is going to be the Miami Heat at the Toronto Raptors. This was a pretty defensive game. I kind of called that right. I knew that the score was going to be kind of low, and there were going to be a lot of rebounds available for Hassan Whiteside. And in 37 minutes, he had 21 points, 16 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, and only 1 block. And that's kind of unusual for a defensive player as good as Hassan Whiteside. But still, he was able to make value and have turn in a really good game in a loss. Justice Winslow, 13 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 steals. Pretty good game from him. Goran Dragic, who I kind of didn't like, had a really nice game. 17 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and 1 steal. And Tyler Johnston hopped off the bench in 29 minutes and had 16 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 steals, and 2 blocks. So he filled it up. Had a really great game from him. We kind of got nothing off of the bench. Josh Richardson, he had a limited role, just under 12 minutes, and he had 1 rebound and 1 steal. We want to keep our eyes on him because he's definitely a part of their rotation when he's healthy. On the other side of the ball, I'm not going to mention the snowflake of the night, but DeMar DeRozan, man, I was really off him just because I didn't think he could continue to keep scoring at that clip. But this dude is making me a believer, man. 36 minutes, he goes out and scores 34 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists. Kyle Lowry had a pretty decent game. Not what we wanted in the scoring and assist department, but he did make up for it with 8 rebounds, 3 steals, and 3 blocks to go with 13 points and 5 assists. Terrence Ross had a really good game. He was somebody who I was looking at too when the Dante Cunningham news broke because he was sitting around that same price range as Terrence Jones. I'm glad I stuck with Terrence Jones, but Terrence Ross did have a nice game in 20 minutes, 20 points, and 4 rebounds with 1 steal at very close to minimum salary. And I think we've got a creeper around here. I'm my boo now. She always want to check, while I'm doing my show, she always want to check up on me and be heard. I hope you heard her on the camera. Here we are. Next game we're going to get into is going to be the Charlotte Hornets. They went to Brooklyn and took on the Nets without Jeremy Lin. We all knew we could fire up Kilpatrick in this game. He went out and he had a fairly decent showing. 19 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 steals. If you had the stones to roster the Whitehead kid, he kind of had a good game. Definitely returned value for you with 8 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, and 1 block. Now, I was going to make Brook Lopez the snowflake of the night, but I figured that would be making it all about me, and I'm not just about me. I'm about you too. And Damari Carroll fucked you over way harder than Brook Lopez did me. But in 28 minutes, he had 18 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, and Trevor Booker, who all of us were kind of up and down on him, didn't know what the pace of the game was going to be without Jeremy Lin pushing the ball. So if it was fast paced, if Jeremy Lin was in the game, I would have definitely went with Trevor Booker. But I didn't know what the pace was going to be, so I kind of stayed away from him. But he went out and had a great game: 12 points, 13 rebounds, an assist, a steal, and 2 blocks. And Hollis Jefferson, who was around that same area with Terrence Jones, he did look good to me, and he had an excellent game. I mean, at I believe 3.3K on DraftKings, he had 11 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, and 4 steals. Really nice game from Rondé Hollis Jefferson. On the Charlotte side of the ball, my man Kemba, he went out and dropped another 30, had 6 rebounds and 1 assist. Spencer Hawes jumped off of the bench and had 13 points and 5 rebounds. We had a pretty nice game from Nicholas Batum. We probably were expecting a little bit more in the assist category. He only had 2, but he had 18 points and 9 rebounds. And Cody Zeller played 21 minutes and had 10 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, and 1 block. Really nice game from Cody Zeller. The next game we're going to be moving on to is going to be the New York Knicks. My New York Knicks going to Chicago. Derrick Rose going to Chicago. Joakim Noah going back to Chicago and putting a whooping on their ass. That was nice. I enjoyed watching that game because I'm a Knicks fan and I love the sweeter redemption stories. I like those. I like the underdog. As a Knicks fan, I gotta like the underdog. Now, Carmelo Anthony snapped out of his rebounding slump and had 7 boards. Pretty nice for him. 4 assists and a block to go with 25 points in 35 minutes, which is really nice. Porzingis had 27 points, 5 rebounds, and 1 assist. And it seems like everything was working for the Knicks tonight. Joakim Noah, 16 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 steals. He got back to his old self, kind of scoring when he could, but also distributing the ball and getting rebounds when he could. That was a really nice game from him. Courtney Lee, 17, 2, and 4 assists. But the story of the game was Derrick Rose, man. He played 38 minutes. When was the last time that the glass man, Derrick Rose, played 38 minutes? I'll wait. He had 15 points, 7 rebounds, 11 assists, 1 steal, and 1 block. Excellent game from Derrick Rose. Just enough to get our hopes high up as a Knicks fan so that he can get hurt in a few games. Hopefully, D-Rose is going to stay strong. Let's move on to the other side of the ball. Jimmy Butler, he was doing everything he could to not be shown up by Joakim Noah and Derrick Rose, and was kind of pressing. And that's why I think in his 37 minutes, he only had 26 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, and 1 steal, which was a decent game, but you could tell that he felt bested by the Bulls that went to New York and came back to beat their ass. Dwayne Wade showed up in a major way in this game. He had 35 points, 10 rebounds, and 1 assist. Rajon Rondo, very low totals in everything he did. He only had 4 points. He had 5 rebounds. He had 5 assists. He had 1 steal. Very low totals from him. And Nikolai Mirotic jumped off the bench and had 14 and 6 with 1 block. Next game we're going to move on to, it's going to be the LA Clippers at the Grindhouse taking on the Memphis Grizzlies. We already said it. Chris Paul's best point guard in the league. Tonight, if you went Paul Wall, it worked out for you. Unfortunately, I didn't because I didn't have Chris Paul anywhere, but he went nuts. 27 points, 4 rebounds, 11 assists, 6 steals, and 2 blocks. DeAndre Jordan grabbed 21 boards and scored 6 points with 1 block and 1 steal and 2 blocks. Blake Griffin got a double-double, 14 points, 10 rebounds, 2 assists, and 1 steal. And off of the bench, Jamal Crawford kind of didn't need to score a lot, but in 23 minutes he had 9 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists. And the coach's son had 8 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 steals. On the Memphis side of the ball, Mike Conley had an awesome game. Didn't see that coming. Chris Paul defense is really, really good, but he went out and he had a nice game. Mike Conley, the second highest paid player in the league, in 37 minutes, had 30 points, 2 rebounds, 10 assists, 1 steal, and 2 blocks. Marc Gasol, limits restrictions are off of these guys. He had 21 points, fell 1 rebound shy of the double-double bonus, had 4 assists, 1 steal, and 2 blocks. We had Zach Randolph. Zebo jumped off of the bench and had 28 points, excuse me, 28 minutes, 15 points, 9 rebounds, and 2 assists. Pretty good game from Zach Randolph. One of the more exciting games of the evening, and because I had a lot at stake with this particular player, because my whole lineup hinged on how well Devin Booker was going to perform. I knew he was going to have a coming out party, a big game at some point, and I really felt like against New Orleans, he was going to be able to do that. So he goes out and he has 38 points, career high in 41 minutes. This game did go into overtime, and he ended up fouling out. So he could have took it up some more. He ended up fouling out. 38 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists for Devin Booker. Eric Bledsoe in 35 minutes has 17 points and 7 rebounds with 4 assists. And Tyson Chandler had a really nice rebounding game for the 4th consecutive game. We've got to keep an eye on this. This dude is rebounding at an amazing clip. He had 12 points, 18 boards, and 1 assist. Alex Len, who I liked in this game, really didn't perform very well, but he had 4 points and 10 rebounds with an assist. TJ Warren, who everybody was on, another solid game from him, almost 40 minutes. He had 18 points, 6 rebounds, 1 assist, and 4 steals on the other side of the ball. Anthony Davis got off to a very slow start, but he ended up riding the ship and not making value, but scoring 22 points, 11 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, and 4 blocks in 42 minutes. We already know what Terrence Jones did, had an excellent game in 28 minutes, filled up the stat sheet. Tim Frazier really kind of let us down, man. He had 13 points, no rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal. Just not a very good game from him. And Omar Ashik was his usual self, not scoring, but getting 11 boards and 1 rebound, 1 assist with 3 blocks. Buddy Hield, 10 points, 4 rebounds, and 1 assist. Pretty good game from him. Langston Galloway, 14 and 4, and Lance Stevenson had 10, 2 rebounds, and 2 assists. The next game we're going to get into is going to be the Portland Trailblazers going to the Dallas Mavericks. Another Dame game, very spectacular game from Dame Lillard, one of my favorite players in the league. He went out and had 42 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists. CJ McCollum, man, let a lot of folks down. He was in the running to be the snowflake of the night. He was. Because a player that good against this type of team, he should have had a way better game than he did. But he had 9 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 assists. Al-Farouq Aminu, one of the core 4, 12 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, and 1 block. Mo Harkless kind of underwhelming with his 9-1 performance with 3 assists and 1 steal. And Alan Crabb couldn't hit a bucket. Couldn't buy a bucket. He only had 4 points. But he had 6 rebounds, 3 assists, and 3 steals with 1 block. On the Dallas side, JJ Barea, who everybody was on, had 30 minutes, had 23 points and 6 assists. Pretty good game from him. Deron Williams, 12 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, and 2 steals. And there was a time during the day where we didn't know if he was even going to play. And he came out and had a really nice game. Harrison Barnes is trying to earn his contract. He had 17 points and 10 boards. And off of the bench, Seth Curry, 8 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, and 1 steal. Not a very big game for him. The next game I'm going to get into is a game that really helped me out. It's going to be the San Antonio Spurs going to Utah to exact some revenge. They just beat them earlier in the season, a few games back. And, you know, Kawhi Leonard, man, great game. 29 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. Wish the game was kind of closer. Then he would have saw more than just the 31 minutes. But LaMarcus Aldridge cleaned up the dirty work. He was there in the 4th quarter, had 19 points and 6 rebounds with 2 steals and 1 block. We also had Patty Mills, who was kind of touted as a value play throughout the day. I wasn't really on him very tough, but he had 16 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists on the Utah side of the ball. Derek Favors, man, continues to look hurt and look like he's not ready to play. But he's got 27 minutes, right? So in 27 minutes, he has 6 points, 7 rebounds, 2 steals, and 1 block. Joe Johnson, 14-1 with 2 assists. And George Hill kind of underperformed in this game. When we look at what he's been doing recently, he had 13 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists. Rodney Hood, pretty good shooting game for him. He had 18 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 assists. Pretty good game for him. He also had a steal, too. Pretty good game all around for Utah, even though They lost. Now, the game of the night, man, this was like kind of a low-key, marquee matchup because a lot of us thought that Golden State were going to blow the doors off of the Lakers. I thought the game might stay just close enough for me to get 3 solid quarters out of D'Angelo Russell, as he was definitely a part of my core 4. But I knew that there was also, the blowout potential was definitely there. And Randle, man, Julius Randle had an excellent game. Excellent game from Julius Randle. Let's see if I can pull it up here. Now, Curry only scored 13 points, going 0 for 10 from three-point range. First time I think that's ever happened. Just a pretty underwhelming performance from Steph Curry. Randle and was a very versatile in this game. D'Angelo Russell had 17 points, and Brandon Ingram also had 12 points. So the one that after Kevin Durant scored 39 against his former Thunder team, the Warriors, they got off to a really slow start. They scored a season-low 15 points in the first quarter, and that's also the fewest points allowed by the Lakers in any quarter this season. So the Lakers played their best defensive game, while the Golden State Warriors played their worst offensive game. Now that we've recapped all of the games for the evening, let's jump into tomorrow's 8-game slate. We're going to start with the Minnesota Timberwolves taking on the Oklahoma City Thunder. This game is going to be in Oklahoma City. It's a 206.5 over/under. Oklahoma City is the favorite, giving up 6 points, and you gotta like Russell Westbrook. Let's go ahead and pull up the price guide to see exactly what we will be working with when we jump into tomorrow's slate. Because I like to go by, I like to match the price guides right along with the over-unders, the point total. So let's check it out. We're gonna lobby. Okay. Nope. And we're gonna pump fake up. Then we're gonna create okay. There's 8 games tomorrow. 7 are gonna be on the main slate. That's kind of sweet for me. I like that. I like that. Now let's check out what we have on here. All right. Now we got James Harden. It's gonna be the. No, he's not. Because if you go to all people, bam. So that early game is not going to be on the main slate. That's the game that's at 6 with Oklahoma City. So we don't have to worry about if we're going to roster Westbrook or not. Whew. That's a big load off of our shoulders right there. James Harden's coming in at 11.6K against Atlanta. Boogie 10.2 against Milwaukee. We got LeBron against Cleveland. Against Philadelphia. No, I'm good. No. Giannis, Sacramento. That looks pretty good. I like that. Got Kawhi Leonard. John Wall's going to be out. We want to pay attention to that. Who's going to be that backup point guard in that situation? Because Ramon Sessions is gone. He went to Charlotte. Paul George against Chicago again. Dwight Howard going back to Houston is coming to Atlanta. That's something to look at. The Rockets going to Atlanta. That's something to look at. Paul Millsap in this game as well. I think there's going to be a lot of good stuff in this game, man. Kyrie, 7.6. Andre Drummond, 7.7. Blake Griffin, 7.5. That price is dropping. Kevin Love, 7.4. Miles Turner. Vucevic against Washington without Wall, 6.3. Dwayne Wade. Fournier, Jokic, Detroit. We got Will Barton is out still. Gallinari, Aaron Gordon 5.8, Jeff Teague 5.8, Thaddeus Young is still in there 5.8, Ibaka 5.6 against Washington. Okay, so we've got some good pricing. KCP in Denver, still 4.9K. He's had a couple good games back to back. We want to be on the lookout for KCP. Okay, Okafor is going to be playing. Now we might have some Okafor and Embiid, so that's going to make it a little harder because when you just had one or the other, you knew to start Okafor, you knew to start Embiid. They were a part of a couple of my core rosters too. Covington, you don't want to mess with him. Yeah, we've got some. Yeah, so we want to stay tuned to Twitter and check on everything and make sure that we know who's in, who's out, and who we can roster because late breaking news like the Bogut news. Wasn't that some bullshit? I had him in a couple lineups. Wasn't that some bullshit? Wow. You know, by the time lineups locked, there was no way I could make the change. So Minnesota and Oklahoma City. We didn't really have to get into that game too much. I definitely would like Levine and Dunn. We know that Oklahoma City at home, very pace-up game. They're going to be running. I'm down to roster just about anybody from the Minnesota side, especially Karl Anthony Towns. I like him in this game. I would like Westbrook if he was on the slate, depending on the price point. It probably would be somewhere around 12,000. Not sure, but coming off a loss, man, you know he's going to come out with a vengeance and play very well. Next game we're going to get into is the Denver Nuggets going to Detroit. This is surprisingly a 205.5 over-under. Now, Detroit usually plays at a very slow pace and doesn't score a lot of points. But with Denver and Moutier pushing the pace the way they are, this is a -4 game in favor of Detroit. They're giving up 4 points to Denver. Now, in this game, I like Ish Smith at point guard. I like Moutier at point guard. I think Drummond is somebody we can definitely get behind in this game. And if Drummond sees foul trouble, you can definitely go to his backcourt, his backcourt mate. Both of them. I like. Something is telling me to lean more towards Tobias Harris. I like Tobias Harris in this game. Now, on the other side of the ball, we know we've got Darrell Arthur back for Denver, so that's going to spread out minutes in that backcourt. And there's been times when you've seen Darrell Arthur and Kenneth Reed on the court at the same time with Nikolai Jokic and Nurkic on the bench. So I don't know how that front court role is going to be playing out going forward, but that's something that we definitely want to keep an eye on. We're not expecting Gary Harris back. We're not going to see Will Barton, so there's going to be some Wilson Chandler. He's a fairly decent play. Defensively, they're going to suffer because I like KCP as well in this game. So there's a potential for a light Detroit stack. There's definitely the potential for a Detroit stack in this game. The next game we're going to get into is going to be the Chicago Bulls going to Indiana. This is a 215 over-under with Indiana being the favorite. They've given up 3 points. Jimmy Butler coming off a loss is probably going to be a pretty good play. For once in a while, I actually do like Miles Turner in this game. Chicago is a pretty good defensive rebounding team, but Robin Lopez is probably the most unathletic center in the league. Now, you're going to see maybe a lot of Thaddeus Young in lineups because he's going to be collecting a lot of boards. But I like Miles Turner in this game. I definitely do. As far as the point guards go, I don't like Rondo at all. Teague, I can take or leave him. Paul George is definitely always in play, but I more so like Paul George at home. So this is going to be a game I'm probably going to be investing in Paul George at home. I like him. Nikolai Mirotic. Now, C.J. Miles is somebody to definitely watch. I like C.J. Miles. And this high point total, that's telling me there's going to be some three-pointers made. There's going to be some guys shoot. There's going to be some shots, some shooting, a lot of shooting. I like C.J. Miles, and he's still out here for the cheap. So that's somebody that you can definitely get in your rosters and allow you to pay up in other spots. The next game we're going to get into is going to be the Washington Wizards without John Wall take it on the Orlando Magic. Now, this is a 203 over-under. The Orlando Magic are a really bad defense. Actually, the best part of their defensive game is going to come on the perimeter, as Elfrid Payton is a fairly good defender. We don't see much Biyombo on the boards and playing in the games, so we have to worry about a lot of shots getting blocked down low by the bigs. So I definitely think that we can go Orlando bigs in this game. We can go Vucevic in this game. On the Washington side of the board or the ball, I would take a shot on Satoransky before I did with Trey Burke. Now I don't know who's going to be starting. We have to wait for that news to come out. But I would like Satoransky in this offense more than I would like Trey Burke. I just would. I think he's got more upside, and he's probably even if he's not starting, he was coming off the bench. I like him more than I would like Trey Burke. So that's like immediate value. You wake up tomorrow morning, you're gonna have some immediate value at the point guard position, starting with this Washington game, going to Orlando. Evan Fournier is definitely going to be in play in this game. I don't like Serge Ibaka. I don't like Serge Ibaka. He likes to shoot too many threes. He doesn't get the counting stats, the rebounds, the blocks, the stuff like that. That kind of made him a household name. So I don't really like him very much. Can we go back to Otto Porter? Maybe. Especially without John Wall, somebody's gonna have to pick up the scoring slack. Maybe that opens up the way for Brad Beal. Maybe Brad Beal is a pretty good play in this game. Maybe Brad Beal's going to be a really good play in this game. Next game we're going to get into is going to be the Cleveland Cavaliers going to Philadelphia, taking on the 76ers. Don't do it. Don't do it. No matter, this is a lose-lose situation. This Cleveland game is a lose-lose situation. Unless you can pinpoint the exact scrubs that are going to come off of Cleveland's bench and continue to beat Philadelphia, your K. Felders, your Iman Shumperts, those guys. Unless you can pinpoint those guys, I would stay away from this game altogether. You're not going to get 3 solid quarters from the big three that you would need in order to, make that value. So I would stay away from this game altogether. And you don't know what you're going to get from the Philadelphia side of the ball. So the only thing that might be a solid, decent play is going to be the Philadelphia point guard. I think it's what's his name? Sergio Rodriguez. You may get something from him because he's not a good defender. He's not a very good defender. Kyrie is not a very good defender, so you may get something from Sergio Rodriguez and then have him at a low ownership because nobody's really going to want to roster anybody against Cleveland with a 207 point total and a minus 13.5 going in favor of the Cleveland Cavaliers. I do not like LeBron James. I do not like Love. I don't like Kyrie in this game. If I had to roster one guy from the Cleveland side, it would be Tristan Thompson, only because his price is so low that if he only gives me a couple quarters where he plays well, he's still going to have that shot at making value. So I don't like this game. To me, is more often than not is going to be a stay away. This game right here for me is going to be a stay away. Next game we're going to get into is one of the higher point totals of the night. This is a 216 point total. Is going to be the Houston Rockets going to Atlanta. Minus 2.5 is a differential. So there's going to be a lot of points, but the space between the two teams is going to be short. That spells game stack. You can roster 4, maybe 5 players from this game. As far as defense on the perimeter, you're not going to get any from Houston. You're not going to get any defense from Houston on the perimeter. So you can roster Dennis Schroeder with confidence. You can roster Kyle Korver for the cheap. Definitely, the narrative going to be involved is Dwight Howard wreaking havoc on all of his former teams. I like Dwight Howard in this game. I don't like Paul Millsap as much because he's going to see a few different guys that are really good defenders on that low wing post area. You're going to see Montrezl Harrell. You're going to see Clint Capella. All those guys are pretty good out there. Now, if Millsap can draw him out and shoot the jump shot, he's going to have a really good game. But he hasn't been shooting the ball very well lately. So I would stay away from Paul Millsap. He's not going to be like a really great play for me. But of course, Harden is always in play. I like Harden. I definitely like Harden. You can definitely fire him up. I even like Eric Gordon. I think I would take this complete backcourt. I would go Harden and Gordon and finish off my game stack. I would go 3 deep in this. I would go Harden, Gordon, finish off my game stack with Dwight Howard. I think all those guys have a really great game tomorrow. The next game we're going to get into is going to be the Sacramento Kings going to Milwaukee. This is a 204.5 over under. Another very slim point differential with Milwaukee giving up 2 to Sacramento. You're going to see a lot of Giannis in this game. He's going to have a really good game. Rudy Gay, I think he has a bounce back game in this one. He can rebound definitely against Milwaukee, because when you count on Giannis, somebody who plays points, somebody who plays the best defender on the team, probably the best rebounder on the team, and him, Rudy Gay and Jabari are very similar players. Look at them, watch some tape. They're very similar players. It is Rudy Gay is a little more polished and seasoned and savvy in the way of being an NBA veteran. So I think Rudy Gay gets the best of Jabari Parker in this game. I also like Boogie. I think he's going to be a really good play. The Malcolm Brogdon guy, I don't know much about him, but just based off what he did last time and going against this poor Sacramento perimeter defense, I think he's definitely worth a shot. If I had to roster 2 guys from the Milwaukee side, it would be Brogdon and it would be Giannis. And if I have to roster 2 guys from the Sacramento side, it would be Boogie and it would be Rudy Gay. Now you also can look to the bench and find some little scrub love with Ben McLemore. He's been playing well. He is still shooting hot. When he gets on the floor, he gets about just under 20 minutes a game, but he does score. He scores and he can shoot the ball well. So I think he's somebody that you can definitely look at. The last game we're going to be talking about is going to be the LA Clippers going to San Antonio. This is a 194.5 over under, with San Antonio giving up 4.5 to the Los Angeles Clippers. Now, outside of this being a late night hammer game at 8:30 on a Saturday, I don't know exactly where I would go with this game, because this game can go one of 2 ways. It can be a close game. You can see a lot of Kawhi Leonard. He can play very well like he always does, or San Antonio could blow them out. Now we need to keep our, and the funny part about this is, see, this is the last game on the slate. This is the latest game, so we need to be very vigilant in our following the San Antonio beat writers to see who is in and who is out, who's going to be resting, because Pop does that. We call it getting popped in DFS. When out of nowhere, I'm sitting all my starters, all of the rookies are going to be playing tonight. It happens sometimes, especially later on in the season. Now, Chris Paul is somebody who you can roster with confidence in any situation. He is matchup proof, especially against an old, slow Tony Parker or a young, not good Patty Mills. Doesn't matter where they go, Chris Paul is definitely in play in this game. I don't know when we're going to get Danny Green back, so their perimeter defense is still kind of suffering. So I like J.J. Redick in this game. DeAndre Jordan is going to see a lot of opportunities for rebounding, but LaMarcus Aldridge is so much better and has so much of an offensive game. If I had to roster a big on either side in this game, it would be LaMarcus Aldridge if he plays. We need to check with Twitter, make sure that these guys are still all going to be available for tomorrow night's game. Real quick, man, a lot of love has been shown to me over the last few weeks, man. It's been a short time. I started doing this with NFL just because I was bored and I wanted to, be a part of DFS. I like gambling, I like sports, and I love people. And if you put them all together, that is what daily fantasy sports entails. And in a very short time, we went from me and 10 people, 10 subscribers, and them kind of listening to me, kind of not listening to me, to 1,000 almost. And so many people that go with what we come up with and then put their own little spin on it and do what they need to do to make it theirs. They're earning money. They're winning money. So much that people have even been soliciting tips from me. And I just want to, quickly shout out one of my Twitter followers, man. Really, really solid person. Let me find. Really, Barb Howell at Cajun Girl, thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you. When you see my baby girls and what you did for me, you didn't do it for me, just for me. You did it for us. Because whatever I get, I'm a dad, I'm a family man. Whatever I get supports my family life and my hobbies and my fun and everything. So I definitely appreciate your generosity, and I hope that you enjoy your winnings and you keep on doing it and we stay hot. And just to talk about this little hot streak that I'm on, man, I don't know how long it's going to last. I'm a regular guy just like you. I'm calling it how I see it every day. I'm sharing the truth as I find it with you. And, you know, I was thinking most guys, most of the big money DFS winners are the same guys who have these shows, who have these podcasts. And think about it. If I'm entering 150, 200 lineups in tournaments and I have a show, when I talk on my show, I've got so much money invested in these tournaments. When I talk on my show, am I going to talk and kind of give you the keys to take my money? Because look at what we're doing. We're not sharks. We're regular people, everyday people, right? And so my thinking is, why would you listen to them? Why would you? I mean, I respect what they all do in the community, in the DFS community. Your Al Schmizzle, Adam Levitan, you know, Crane, who just won the Millionaire Maker. All these guys, I respect them a great deal for their intellect and their ability to put out great content. But they're the sharks, and we want to make it so that the sharks ain't safe in the DFS sweatshop waters. And I need you and you and you and you to help me make sure that we do this. We doing this for the little man. I want to thank y'all. You can follow me on Twitter at DFS Jerusalem. This has been your host, the DFS Jerusalem. Another great night in the DFS sweatshop. Got me a bottle of a Crown Royal apple. I'm about to chill, enjoy, and have a great Saturday. Thank y'all. Peace.